On this episode of the Black Boss Ladies Platform podcast, Ida B. Wells-Barnett, a fierce anti-lynching warrior who is still honored today for her courage and resilience in fighting for the rights of Black people in America.
Welcome to the Black Boss Ladies Platform, the place where legacies live.
Born into slavery in 1862, Ida B. Wells-Barnett's life was defined by resilience, intellect, and an unyielding commitment to justice. Orphaned at a young age after the yellow fever epidemic claimed her parents, she took on the responsibility of raising her siblings. Initially working as a school teacher, she soon found her true calling in journalism and activism. Her transformation into a relentless anti-lynching advocate began in 1892, when her close friend Thomas Moss and two other Black businessmen, Calvin McDowell and Henry Stewart, were brutally lynched in Memphis for daring to compete with white-owned businesses. Outraged, Wells-Barnett launched an investigative campaign exposing the truth behind lynchings in the South. Using her platform as co-owner of the Memphis Free Speech, she fearlessly documented the racial and economic motives behind these murders, debunking the false narrative that lynching was a response to Black men assaulting white women. Her bold reporting came at a great cost. After publishing her findings, she was forced to flee Memphis when a white mob burned down her newspaper office. Relocating to Chicago, she continued her crusade, publishing groundbreaking works such as Southern Horrors, Lynch Law in All Its Phases, 1892, and The Red Record, 1895, which used statistical data to reveal the widespread use of lynching as a tool of racial oppression. In 1895, she married attorney and journalist Ferdinand Barnett, adopting the hyphenated surname Wells-Barnett, a rare act of autonomy for women of her time. Together, they became a powerful force for racial justice in Chicago, where she joined political movements, co-founded the National Association of Colored Women, and worked alongside early civil rights organizations. Wells-Barnett's activism took her all the way to the White House in 1898, where she pressured President William McKinley to support federal anti-lynching legislation. Despite her tireless efforts, such laws were not passed during her lifetime. The Emmett Till Antilynching Act, which finally made lynching a federal crime, would not be enacted until 2020, more than a century after she began her fight. Even as she faced threats, censorship, and exclusion from male-dominated movements, Wells-Barnett never wavered. She remained politically active until her death in 1931, leaving behind a legacy of truth, courage, and advocacy. In recognition of her impact, the city of Chicago honored her in 2018 by naming a street after her and erecting a monument in her memory. A pioneering investigative journalist, fearless activist, and steadfast believer in justice, Ida B. Wells-Barnett proved that the pen and the truth could be mightier than the sword. Ida B. Wells-Barnett, you are truly a Black Boss Lady, and your legacy will live on the Black Boss Ladies Platform podcast.
Thank you for joining us on the BBL Platform podcast, the place where legacies live.